So one of the first assignment that I have for you guys is to create your own personal financial statements. All right? And so while I'm not going to describe to you my all of my financial dealings, right? And I'm not anything that you give me is going to be private. I thought I would at least walk you through the process of how to do this. All right? So we're going to do everything as of 12/31. All right? So everything is as of December 31st. So these are your personal financial statements. And everything is as of 12/31 20. So in constructing your personal financial statements, we can at least start with known items. So here are the known items that we're going to look for. Let's go through and list out all of our assets. Right? And we know that those assets are things that we own. So things that I have. So I'm not going to put values next to these things. Well, I'll put fictitious values next to it. So as of December 31, 2020, and so I'm going to try and create two levels here. One, I want to know what the balance is as of 12/31/20 and what my balance is as of 12/31 or 12/31/19. Okay? So I want to do a comparative balance sheet here. So I'm going to list out all my assets. So I'm going to look at what I had for cash. All right? And where do I get that information? Well, I'm going to go to my bank statements. For each of these days and put in the dollar amount associated with cash, right? Now, how much you put on there, that's entirely up to you, right? Again, I'm not checking to see if you're valid. I just want you to get into the habit of understanding how to put these things together. So the first thing I do is I go to my bank statements and I pull up my cash. If I have any investments, I might go to my broker statements for each of these days and figure out what my balance is. If I had any retirement savings, again, probably go to my broker statement or Fidelity statements, whatever, wherever your retirement is, and pull those numbers down. All right? We're just describing how to do this. If I have any real estate, I might go to Zillow and find out how much it's worth today and try to come up with an estimate of how much it was worth in 2019. All right? Again, we're trying to create your personal financial statements. What we'll find is these financial statements that we're going to create are not exactly going to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the United States. But that's not the reason why we're putting these financial statements together. We're putting these financial statements together so you can see how the financial statements relate to each other. If you have other things, other things that you find of value, so other valuable items, right? Those are just going to be estimates. Your estimates, right? I'm not here to check up on them. I'm not looking for validity of any of this stuff. And then any other things you have, if you want to add in your clothes, furnishings, whatever, right? And again, these are going to be estimates of how much you think these things are worth. All right? So that's your listing of your assets. Then we'll go through the process of listing out your liabilities. And this is your personal financial statements. Right? As of 12/31/20. And we're looking at both 12/31/20 and some kind of an idea about what your balance was as of 12/31/19. And so we start thinking about your liabilities. And so some of the things that are in your liabilities, any loans, you can look at your statements. For both years. Okay? We're not going to get into I owed a lease payment, we're not going to get into any of that stuff, right? Just I think make it simple, whatever loans you've got. And you may have multiple loans. Maybe you've got student loans, you might want to have those be separate than a mortgage loan versus a credit card. Right? So you may want to break up your loans, credit card, student loan, mortgage loan, etc. All right? And these are all going to come from the statements. From this information about our assets as well as our liabilities, we can start creating the balance sheet. Each one of these line items that you've just identified is going to go in as part of your balance sheet and whatever dollar amount you have there. Once you've listed out all of your liabilities and you've got all your assets listed, then you can figure out your net worth, which is going to be simply your assets minus your liabilities. And now you can see what your net worth, how your net worth changed from 12/31/19 to 12/31/20. And you can see in 12/31/19 I was worth this much, and now this year I'm worth this much. Maybe higher, maybe lower, right? And so we want to, and then the next thing to do is try to start figuring out what changed your net worth, right? What occurred that changed your net worth? Right? So that's when we start coming up with a statement of income. And for this one, we only want to have 1 year. We don't need both years. We just need to figure out the 1 year. So again, we're dealing with your personal financial statements as of 12/31/20. And so now we want to start thinking about what potentially changed your net worth. All right? And there's a couple of things that are happening here that you wouldn't normally see on a regular financial statement that's executed. Right? So we can always start with our salary. Right? We can get that from your W-2. Right? Then we can also look at any gifts that you received. Again, that's an estimate, if any. Any increase or decrease in investments. Right? We can get that from your broker statement. And that could be investments, retirement, any of that kind of stuff, right? So we're just trying to come up with what you think is an estimate, right? We're just looking for all of your potential sources of increasing wealth. All of your sources of increasing wealth. If you're in your real estate estimate, your real estate went from 2019 to 2020 and it went up in value based on your estimates, then any changes in value of other assets again, all those are going to ultimately be estimates, right? Then you can start thinking about, okay, well, what are my expenses? What are the things that I spent money on, right? So this is going to be your total income. Okay, total income. Then you can start putting in what your expenses are. And again, all of this can be an estimate, but you want to detail all that out. So rent, car, clothing. If you didn't put your clothing as an asset, right? You're treating clothing as an expense, that's fine. And then you just want to create, you want to create that income statement. And then I would put taxes as one of your expenses. You don't have to break it out. You know, taxes that you paid, Social Security taxes, income taxes, all that kind of stuff. Your salary is just going to be your top, how much you had for top, and that, you know, and then if you end up taking some of that money and putting it into your investments or into your retirement, then you want to also, you know, you want maybe your W-2 salary is just going to be um, is your total dollar amount, but then your increase decrease investments doesn't include the cash that you put in there because that cash is already in here, right? And this is just a little exercise to get you thinking about what would go on your personal financial statements. And then we can go into, and I'm not as concerned about it, but then we can start going into cash flows. And in fact, I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of stick with trying to create your balance sheet and your personal financial statements. All right, your personal income statement and your balance sheet, and just leave it at that. And we'll see whether or not your income statement fully covers what your change in net worth was. Because what you're going to find is that the way we do this particular income statement, this income statement should translate somehow to your change in net worth. And as a result, you may end up having something called other income or other expense that tries to explain that change in net worth. So this is kind of the outline of how to attack this. In the next video, I'm actually going to do mine and, you know, throw in some estimates out there. We'll see how it all turns out.